recall that the gradient of a function is a vector, and it points in the direction of the maximum rate of change of the function. Its length is that rate of change. So if we calculate the gradient of our function f, which is 2x plus 6y divided by z, we'll have a vector pointing in the direction of the maximum rate of change. So the gradient is a vector. The first component is the partial of our function with respect to x. The second component is the partial of our function with respect to y. And the third component is the partial with respect to z. Which is negative 2x plus 6y over z squared. Okay, now we need to evaluate the gradient at the point 8 to negative 2 to find out the maximum rate of change of our function at that point. In other words, the direction you would go from that point to get the biggest rate of change. So we just plug in 8 for x, and 2 for y, and negative 2 for z. And that will be a vector pointing in the direction of the maximum rate of change. However, note that the question asks for a direction given as a unit vector. So we will need to calculate the length of this vector and divide the vector by that length to get a unit vector. Okay, there we've done all our substitutions. Now we just need to calculate and simplify, and we will get negative 1, negative 3, and negative 7. Alright, so to get a unit vector we need to calculate the length of this vector, evaluated at 8 to negative 2, and that we do by taking the square root of the sum of the squares of the components. And that gives us the square root of 59. So that's the length of the gradient vector, so that is the maximum rate of change, and it's also what we need in order to convert our gradient vector into a unit vector, or in other words, to calculate a unit vector pointing in the same direction. So dividing the vector means multiplying it by 1 over the square root of 59 and bringing that in and multiplying each component by 1 over square root of 59. And then we're done. We have both the maximum rate of change and the direction in which it occurs.